Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show.
Welcome, welcome. Another show hot off the press. Cooking it up. You remember time to go make the donuts? It's time to make the donuts.
Make the donuts. I was like, hot off the press, although that seems pretty straightforward, but I'm like, does it have some other, like, you love to bring us the history of saying.
I do. I mean, I would imagine, I haven't seen this, but I would imagine hot off the press refers to literally when you take newsprint off of the printing press, it is literally hot, it is warm. So when you first get a, newly publicized something, it's so fresh, it's literally hot off the press. So yes, I love this. I could do words all day long. I'm like that, what's that movie, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, where the dad was like, tell me any word, and I will tell you how the origin is Greek, I'm like, yes.
I love that because I always feel like remembering stuff from movies is a male trait, but
Really?
you've got that down. Yeah. I always like, my ex-business partner would always, like, a song would come on and he'd be like, what movie is that from? What movie is that from? Or he'd say a line, what movie is that from? What movie? And I'm like, I don't know.
Listen, half of my dialogue is movie quotes. Like, I think they're my litmus test when I meet people. I'm like, if I can say certain things, like if I say, right on top of it, Rose, do you know what that means or not? Right? If you know, then you know. See, that's from Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, but maybe that's.
I don't think I've ever seen Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
It could be an age thing too, like generation. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah,
but anyway,
I'm older than you. I'm much older.
Just a little.
And I was laughing. Our past guest was like, "Oh, I've been doing this for 10 years," and I'm going, "Oh shit, I've been doing my career for 31 years." 31.
Oh my God, Julietta, how's that even possible?
I don't know. Because I still look 16, right?
You absolutely do. And let me tell you all, if you're listening on, see how I got Southern there really quick? I said, y'all, it slips once in a while. If you're listening to this on podcast, hop on YouTube and just go look at Julietta. Just go look at her. She looks like a teenager. I swear to God, it's ridiculous. Speaking of looking a certain way, you want to
I look adorable.
You look adorable.
I said that.
Yeah, I do. You're so funny. I was going to tell you a work story. So even though, it's my work, but honestly, it's just my passion. So for those of you that don't know, I am a portrait photographer, and one of my specialties is boudoir photography, which is intimate portraiture, really. And it can be however you want, like super sexy or super tame or super ethereal or poetic or, braunchy, even, I don't know, whatever your brand is, right? Whatever like.
Floats your boat.
Whatever floats your boat. We're not here to judge. But lately I have had a rash of husbands coming with their wives, and sometimes it's wives coming with their wives, but the men lately have been like stepping into this like you won't believe. Like I had one couple where the husband was just like obsessed with his wife, like absolutely obsessed, like loves everything about her. She's like, I'm insecure about this, and this. And he's like, hell no, all of those things are amazing. Another one came the other day, and as the pictures were coming up on the screen, he's like, oh yeah. Oh, that one's a keeper. Oh yeah. Oh, sure. And it just struck me for a second, like, that's so amazing to be so like adored, right? Like to be so passionately sought after. I've been loved. I am loved. I know I am cared for, like all of these things, but like adored is a whole different level of affection, right? Like, do you know what I'm talking about? Does that make sense?
And like, even as you're talking about it, I feel like it would feel a little uncomfortable. It would feel a little like smothering, suffocating. Like, I don't know if I could handle that.
Right? I don't know. And out of like, what's really interesting is that all the women generally are like, I don't know why he's like that, like dismissive almost, like not in a bad way, but just like in a, man, why as women can we not just accept what we've been given, right? Like, some people don't express affection that way, right? So here are these women that are receiving affection in this way. And like you said, sometimes it's overwhelming. Sometimes it's, but they all are like, oh, I don't know why he's like that, and like just once I would love for us to just narrow the definition of humility so that we can say, damn right, and you're welcome. Like that's one thing I say in my house all the time. Every time my boyfriend's like, oh, you're this, that, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, and you're welcome. Like, that's how fucking awesome I am. Maybe that's why I'm not adored, Julietta. I don't know. I'm adored in different ways. I will say that. But it was really interesting. Really interesting. And I don't know if that's the goal, right? Is that Notebook, that you remember the movie The Notebook? I'm going to go back to movies.
I do.
Right? So like, is that real? Is that not? Is it desirable? Is it not? Is it just everybody coming with their own stuff?
Well, and I will say there's probably more people out there that adore their partners, but then also I don't know what it takes within you to be able to express that. Because it's possible a lot of people feel it and only certain people are able to express it as well. So,
right? And we talk about like love languages, right? So everybody expresses it differently, right? Like, for me, if you go fill up my car with a tank of gas, I would rather take that than a poem any day of the week. Like, put the car, go put gas in it. You never have to say another nice word again. Just do that thing for me, please.
I mean, words are nice, and I won't say it's at the bottom of my list, of the five love languages.
Mm-hmm.
The one that is on the bottom of my list is gifts. Like that's
right.
The last thing. 'Cause I'm just like, I don't want to contribute anymore to the junk on this planet, and just like things, like we don't need more things. And then words of affirmation, it's like anybody can say words, and yes, there's a difference between, like, you can tell when someone really means them or not, but I'm much more, a hug means way more to me than you telling me that you love and care about me, and spending time with me and doing, I went away to the wedding and I came home and because I just had my house painted. So like the things that hold the hoses, I had them taken off so that everything could be painted. And I came back from Wisconsin and the hose holders were installed on my home and the hoses were there. I was
beautiful. Acts of service, man. I love acts of service. Like that is my jam. I'm telling you, if I never put gas in my car again, like I could do anything. I could conquer the world.
Exactly.
I love that. I love that.
All right. Are we ready to bring our guest on?
Let's do it.
Let's bring on Maleah. Welcome to the show.
Hi,
hello.
Maleah.
Hi. Thank you. So good to be here, ladies.
Great having you. Would you please take a moment and introduce yourself to our audience? Tell them a little bit about who you are and what you do.
On top of that, Rose, I was like, I know that movie.
Thank you.
I know that one. I would miss everything else, but that one, I was like, I know that one. I've seen that. I was so
literally
excited.
Just saw it the other day. I just watched it again the other night.
So my name is Maleah Wilson. I have a private studio here in Boca. I'm in the studio now, and I'm a movement therapist, teacher. I work a lot with post-surgery, pre-surgery, prehab, rehab, and then just people who have postural issues that are in pain, and they're like 40 and they're like, I just have this nagging pain, and like, how did I get here when I used to be so athletic? And so I just do a lot of that postural work. I use a technique, well, it's not a technique, it's a corrective exercise program called Foundation Training, and it's a posterior chain activation. It decompresses the spine so that we make space in the spine from our just gravity and sitting lifestyles, and unwinds our postural patterns that are inevitable in today's modern life.
That's amazing. You know, every time we have a new guest, I'm like, oh, this is going to be something I've heard before. And it never is. Like every time I hear something, I'm like, oh my God, I need that. Like, I love this. You said prehab. Is that what you said? Prehab?
Mm-hmm.
Prehab.
So before surgery, a lot of people don't think about getting strong before their surgery. That's all about what am I going to do afterwards. But getting the body ready for surgery, because there's going to be compensation patterns if you're in a cast or a brace. So strengthening all aspects of the body so that during that, the rehab period, you're ready for that and you're strong. I work with a lot of nursing, pregnant women on shoulders and stuff for pregnancy. Yeah, there's a lot of pelvic floor stuff and, like the normal stuff we think of, but we don't think about all this rounding and hunching of breastfeeding and carrying the baby and trying to do everything with one hand. So it's a lot of prehab, getting everyone ready for whatever's coming.
Yeah, there's definitely, as a physical therapist here, over just talking about 31 years in the profession, we didn't do a lot of prehab when I was starting out as a PT. It's something that has developed, but research shows like if you prepare and do the prehab, you will have a much greater successful outcomes after surgery. So
it's just easier.
It's a real thing, Graciela.
I really wish I had known that, honest to God. Like, the moment you said nursing moms and I was nursing twins, like, girl, my shoulders have not been the same since. Like,
I hear that.
I had no idea. The only thing they told me was put your feet up, because I was put your feet up. So for 30 days, the last 30 days, I would come home from work and put my feet up every day. I'm like, now listening to you, I'm like, damn, I wish I could have done that a little different.
Yes.
So you must have a lot of success stories. Give us one of your like really awesome success stories that keeps you passionate in your business.
I have a client. I've been working with her probably since March. When she came to me, she had just had twins in August. So they just turned 1. And when she was pregnant, she had broken her back.
Oh, wow.
And they found out she had breast cancer.
Oh, my goodness.
And so they did back surgery. She was laid out for almost her entire pregnancy with twins. And then they had found that she had a tumor in her pelvis on her hip. So it was like this huge thing. One of her doctors was like, no movement. You can walk. That's it. And was pretty athletic prior to, loved to work out. She was a singer. It wasn't like her career, but she was like to be healthy. And she was like, I'm sorry, no move. Like that doesn't even make sense to me. So then she went to another doctor and they were like, yeah, you can do everything, but like HIIT exercises, like no pounding because of the surgery. So she was referred to me and we have been able to get her to stand up straighter, to be able to carry her twins at the same time. And one of the big things was she could not step her leg forward and she didn't have the mobility that she used to have. So now she can like step her leg forward in a lunge position.
Wow. She can
rotate from the pelvis and make space in her spine. Her head's not here anymore. It's drawn back and up. And that's one of my biggest ones. It's really like beautiful to watch a woman be able to carry both of her children and take care of her home and do things. She's strong. She can do, we're not jumping up and down, no HIIT stuff, but she can walk actively on the treadmill now and be healthy for her children and show up for them because they're twin boys, man. I mean, I couldn't imagine. So I only have one and done. And so that's really like my favorite, like heartwarming. It's just incredible to watch someone who had like the worst year of their life go, wow, look at me now.
That's amazing. And, that movement theme has definitely come up on this show before about keeping your body moving, right, Julietta?
Yes.
If you're not moving, you're dying.
Yep. I mean, it's so true.
Absolutely.
And I think that's one of my biggest things is like really redefining what health is, because we have grown up thinking that health was going to the doctor and, but that's our sick care. And so really having these conversations about changing what healthcare really could be. And movement is part of that, being able to move and breathe. I'm a breathwork coach as well, and being able to breathe well and how that just changes the whole physiology is crazy town.
breath is movement and breath is life. And yes, and I'm like, don't even get me started about our disease management system. I mean,
know.
they call it healthcare and it's anything but healthcare. So,
Yep.
but I won't go there because
I know.
it's not my
Because
happy.
it's only a 40-minute show.
So our show is all about women uplifting other women, and just curious to know, what's one piece of advice you've gotten from another woman that has changed your life in some way?
Boundaries.
Mm.
I worked for an incredible doctor down in Miami, and we talked about boundaries all the time with clients and patients. And then it was like, yeah, okay, that's so great. And then it came into play in a relationship that I had with another woman a couple years later. And it was like, oh, I get what she was talking about now. And healthy boundaries and where those lines are. And just not even in like we were talking in the work dynamic, but just in general, I don't think I was ever taught how to have really healthy boundaries and express those boundaries in kind, loving ways. So when I had that lesson come up maybe about a year and a half ago, it really just like everything just started to click and I was able to use the knowledge. It could have probably been handled a little bit more gracefully, but the boundary lesson was there. And I learned really quick what she was talking about.
What's really amazing.
So often,
go ahead.
No, that as women, like we're not taught to create boundaries. And it's like, if you're creating boundaries, you're a bitch or, you know, so I think women as a whole, we struggle with setting those boundaries. And so 100%. Each of us learning how to do it. And boundaries are self-care for sure.
And that's really what it is. And I have an 8-year-old daughter now. And so it's really teaching her lovingly how to express what that even means and what boundaries even are. And I know her teacher has reached out to me and she's like, I just want you to know. And then whatever it was happened in class. And she's like, that's really incredible to see. And I was like, all right, well, we're trying here to like, she's not being mean. She was taught at home that this is not okay.
That's right. You know, I think a lot about motherhood, and my twins are 13 now, and I kind of want to have like one more. And I know that even by me saying that out loud, my boyfriend is somewhere hearing me in the universe going, hell no, because we have 4 grand total. But you know, I think like as babies, right? Like, and as moms, we give everything to our babies and our babies receive everything from us without any boundaries, which is a good thing, right? But then we forget to evolve. And so your kids are always going to do exactly what you tell them to do until you stop telling them what to do and make them think on their own, right? But sometimes we forget to transition. And so all of a sudden you're like 15 and you're still doing what the authority figure told you. And even if it's uncomfortable because that's what your mom told you to do, right? Like I don't want to make my bed, but you have to. And so you do it anyway, right? And so we forget to evolve those patterns as we grow, because you're right. At some point when you're, 16 and you finally come to, right, so to speak, and put your foot down, oh, she's a bitch because she put her boundary down. Well, we should have been putting our boundaries down when we were 2 years old and 3 years old, right? Like when we say we're not hungry anymore, mom, or no, I don't like broccoli, right? Like being forced to eat broccoli is a boundary violation, like, and I'm not saying to kowtow to everything that little kids say, right? I'm just saying like these, whether we realize it or not, they are little lessons along the way. They are things that will shape how you show up in the world later on, like,
oh my gosh.
Right?
Oh my gosh. And I watch myself want to be like, you can't leave the table until you eat. And I'm like, I gave her a plate full of food. Like, who knows what she had for lunch? She's fine. Like, I have to really, it's so much about us once they get just a smidge older and watching our stories and our patterns and our habits.
Absolutely right. So in all of your, oh my gosh, experiences. Do you have like one, and everybody gets freaked out about the one. So that's what I'm going to do, Juliet. I'm going to say A instead of one. Do you have a book that you would like to recommend to our audience?
Okay. I have A and B.
Ooh.
I couldn't pick just one. And it took me the longest time to figure them out. But my number one book that came up was Breathe by James Nestor. And I know everyone's not going to be into the breath, but understanding how our breath relates to our anxiety and our panic attacks and our overall health. I mean, I did it on Audible, and he reads the book, and he's brilliant and funny. And it's almost like you're having a conversation with him. It doesn't sound like he's reading a book and you're like, oh my gosh, shoot myself.
Wow.
And it was incredible. And he was the reason I did the breathwork course. I was like, oh my God, we just don't know. So that's a really incredible book. And How to Do the Work by Nicole LaPera. She is a clinical psychologist, and her book is incredible because she breaks down the patterns that we were taught as children from our parents. And she talks a lot about boundaries. And if, she puts it in, if you were raised like this is how you show up in the world, right? So it's super relatable because you're like, oh, that was totally my household. I totally do those things. And then she gives you tools and ways to come back from that. Breathwork is one of them. And, some therapy, she has a whole book. She has a whole new book coming out maybe December 8th. And it's like a workbook on how to do the work.
Wow.
I can't remember the name of it. But it's like it's almost goes with this one, but more workbook style. So you can do the actual lessons and stuff. So I really think we all have trauma. No one skates away from any trauma because we just don't know how to perceive things as children. So it's a really great way to kind of go at your own pace.
I would imagine it's called How to Do the Work book. Sorry.
No, it has a different name. I can't remember off the top of my head now. So that would be my C.
You're muted.
You're on mute.
Juliet is muted. I haven't said that since the beginning of COVID. Uh-oh, she's trapped. Oh, there she is.
No, what I was going to say is that, there's so many books out there that have great information, but you don't always necessarily apply it. So I love that people are making these workbooks to get you to go through the actual process and utilize that. It's like, oh, that book was awesome, But then if you don't actually go through and apply what you've learned, then what was the point? So
absolutely.
And God knows I'm a sucker for an online course. So I love following the bouncing ball. Once I love you, I'm like, oh, what else are you offering? Right. So I'll read the book and then I'll do the workbook. Then I'm like, do you have a course? Oh, do the course. Oh, there's a master class. I'm in.
I agree with that. No, she's great. It's a great book because it's so applicable. You can do it. And you can do it in bite-sized pieces. It's not like, she talks about getting in the loop of healing, and then you just never get off the hamster wheel of healing. And then what are you doing? Right? Can you apply these things to your life? So I love that she has that, do a little bit, implement it into your life, then do a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's approachable.
Perfect. So, we all take risks. We need to take risks to grow and get somewhere. And, but they're scary. They're really scary. And sometimes they turn out and sometimes they don't turn out. But we want to know about one risk that you've taken that that you will never regret having taken that risk.
So having a child. I never wanted to have a child. I was like, hell no to kids. I couldn't. And when I was younger and people were like, oh, you'll change your mind. People were like, yeah, it makes sense. You seem like you're going to go out and do something in the world. And I was like, yes, I'm never having children. And then I met this guy, and this guy was like, okay, so if you don't want kids, what are we doing? And I was like, having fun. Like, what do you mean? What are we doing? We're living our lives. And he was like, yeah, that just doesn't work for me. And I was like, okay, that's cool. And so he's like, listen, I really like you. And I was like, I know, I'm awesome, right? And so he was like, but I really want a family. And I was like, ooh. So he's like, take the time that you need. And I was like, okay, I'll take 3 to 6 months and let me figure out if like, just kind of sit on it and like figure it out, because that's like a huge commitment that I had never really, I just never gave it any thought. I was a solid like, fuck it, I don't like them. Oh, sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to curse. I was like, oh, I don't like them. I still don't really like them. But I did. I have a child. And it was the greatest gift because it brought me to my healing. I don't know if I would have ever jumped on the journey or the bandwagon had I not had her, because it was like the instant I had her, I was like, oh, I can't act like that anymore, you know?
Better hurry up and get my shit together. Work through this stuff.
Oh my gosh. And she acts just like me, you know, like as she's gotten older, it's like, so it was really like, that's the truth. Like I could come up with a whole different things that I would never regret, but that was a huge life choice. And I'm so glad I made it because she's freaking awesome.
Love that.
And that's a big, like, that's a big risk. That's a scary one because that shit is a
scary one.
Man. That is a commitment. Like, you know, I'm 48 and my mom still calls me to check on me. Like, are you driving in the rain? Did you eat today? Are you walking barefoot in the house? Are you wearing shoes? Like, it's never ending. It's never ending.
But I don't think enough people talk about it because I'm sure there's lots of other people who thought that. And so, you know, we're just being real up in here.
Yeah. I mean, you know, someone told me the other day that they were afraid that because of social media and moms are being just so brutally honest that more and more people are going to choose not to have kids. And I'm like, you know what? Good for fucking them. Like, that's amazing, you know?
Yeah.
You know, I always talk about Julietta being mama to everybody because she does not have kids.
Right.
And Julietta cannot have children, but she's just not going to do it right now because we need her in other ways. It's just not a thing. You know?
Absolutely.
It's a whole world. It's a whole thing. But you know what? I love the honesty and I love people being able to say, like, you know, one of the most freeing things someone said to me, I just had the twins, like maybe 6 months or something. And my hairdresser at the time also had twins and she was like a year ahead of me. And she was like, how are you? And I'm like, I'm fine. I'm great. I'm so great. And she leans over and she whispers in my ear and she's like, it's a fucking nightmare, isn't it? And I was like, oh, thank God. Like, I've never felt such relief in my life to know that, like, man, it's not just me, right? Like, it's not all beautiful sunshine, rainbows and unicorns, you know? Like, there is a part of it that sure is telling easy.
So hard. It's so challenging.
And again, why this show exists, that we're all sharing so that everybody knows it's not just me. You're not alone.
You're not alone.
We don't all have all of the experiences, but guaranteed you are not the only one having the experience that you're having. And when other people can share that, it's like, it's a relief, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I'm not the only one. So it's okay. It's okay.
Yes.
The relief of knowing it's okay to parent and the relief of knowing it's okay not to parent too, because I really think there's a lot of pressure on women that, you know, you're made for this, you're made to be a mom, you're supposed to get married and have kids. And it's like, I want people to know, like, I have kids and I'm here to tell you it is okay not to have kids. Like
100%.
Right?
Yep. I have so many friends
mess with people like, why aren't you a mom? You would be the best mom. And I'd be like, oh, I tried so hard and I never could. I'm like, no, it's, you know, it's okay for me to choose not to have children. Like,
absolutely.
It's okay.
Look at poor Jennifer Aniston, right? Like, I don't know if you guys have ever watched it, but like, people are up her ass. Like, leave the woman alone. She did, you know, and now it's coming out, I guess, that she did try IVF or something like that. But like, every interview was about whether she was going to have kids or not. And she's like, man, I am a whole person without having kids. Like, why is this such a big thing? Anyway, don't get me started on the media and how they destroy lives. Like,
I'm just saying.
I've been watching The Crown lately, and I'm like ready to throw down with the paparazzi. Like, I'm mad.
I've never seen it.
I love that whole, I don't know where it came from, why I'm so obsessed with it, but that whole like British royalty, like all their stories. I think what I love about it is that they're just like us, but like an even bigger hot mess. So it's like the world's best reality show. Like anyway, and then there's all these movies and shows that recreate things and how they think it is. And anyway, Juliet, I'm talking too much. Stop me again.
We love you talking, Graciela. But what we got to leave time for here is, because we are creating a bank.
The best question.
We need to fill it with yours. What is your sweetest, most delicious memory?
My sweetest, most delicious memory? Oh, it's such a hard one. There's so many. My wedding day was super fun. And it was really like, I didn't do anything traditional. It was really small. We were on the beach and then we hung out. We got married at 8:30 in the morning. And the last guest left at 3 in the morning.
Oh my goodness.
We had nap time. Everyone got to like part and have nap time. We had brunch and lunch and dinner and snacks. But that was it. It was just like the most important people in our life at that time. If we hadn't talked to you in like 6 months, no offense, it just was like, okay. Super cool that everyone had met everyone at one point, except for one person had not met anyone. And it was just like a big old all day friendship, love, laughter day. It was just, we had a secret water balloon fight that no one knew about. And we came out of nowhere with these like really big, those like super soaker Nerf water guns. And then they played Mission Impossible. And all our guests thought they were taking like one last picture on the pool deck. And we came out of nowhere and like water blasted them. And then we had blown up all these water balloons. So then they were given those. And it was like this all out water balloon fight at like 9-10 at night.
This is the most creative wedding I have ever heard of. You had me at nap time.
Yes. Yeah, about 1 o'clock when everyone was tapping out from the morning, like mimosas and stuff. We're like, okay, bye-bye now. Be back at 5.
That's beautiful. And like, I look at so many weddings it's just this show of false perfection. Yeah. And
I didn't want to spend time talking to people that I was like, oh yeah, who are you again? Or how long has it been since we've talked? No. I had my bathing suit on by 9:30 in the morning.
That's amazing.
Yeah. My husband's mom and I jumped in the pool before like Blair and I jumped in the pool as like the wedding, bride and groom. We were like, God, this is over.
My stepdaughter just got married in the Keys about a month ago. And at whatever o'clock in the morning, she went into the pool with the wedding dress and everything. And I was just like, you know what? Live every minute of your life. Like everybody, not just her, everybody enjoyed like every second of the entire event. Right. Yep. Like I think the ceremony itself took like 4 minutes, like literally it was the fastest wedding ever. And then it was just party the rest of the time. And it was perfect. It was exactly what they wanted,
Ditto. It sounds so similar. Ours was like, yes, I was late, so it might have been a little longer. But it didn't take long to marry us, take some pictures. And then just like that, we were all in the pool and eating and dancing. It was the best. It really, like our friends still talk about our wedding and they're married.
That's awesome. That one's definitely going in the bank for sure.
It was super fun.
Awesome. Anybody got anything else they are having to share urgently?
No,
otherwise it's a wrap. Thank you, Maleah, for joining us and sharing your fun stories with us.
Thank you so much, ladies. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Maleah. I'm super excited to get into these books and your recommendations. I love it.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right, everyone. Be well.
All right, everybody. Great day.